I'm your host, Davina Shinsky, and you're listening to Live Without Limits Dreams Come True with the Right Mindset. Today's presentation is Are You Dating a Narcissist? 8 warning traits to look for. The world of dating can be tricky. Most of us have heard horror stories of someone who got into a relationship with someone who could be labeled a narcissist. If you're in the dating game or you're in a relationship and you're wondering how you can tell if you're with a narcissist. So here is some information that will help you out. So, what is a narcissist? Narcissism is actually a personality disorder. According to the Mayo Clinic, it's where someone has an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others. Understand that a narcissist most likely doesn't know that they're a narcissist. And even if they suspect it, chances are that they don't care and don't want help. So if perhaps you have gotten entangled with the narcissist web, it's best if you're prepared before you try to contend with addressing it or getting out. Comforting or confronting someone about their narcissism usually does not go very well. Keep in mind that lots of people throw the term narcissist around. Maybe they're with someone who is immature, selfish, or mean. So they give them the label. Just because someone acts selfish or lacks sensitivity doesn't mean that they can be diagnosed as narcissistic personality disorder. The only clear way to know is to have them evaluated by a mental health professional. So, the 8 signs that you are dating a narcissist. And here are some signs that are indeed dating someone who may have some narcissistic tendencies. They're never wrong. A narcissist has a really tough time offering an apology, mainly because they don't think they're ever wrong. They admit that they were wrong would make them feel awful about themselves, so it's really tough for them to do so. They're full of themselves. A narcissist loses attention and needs their ego stroked much of the time. Some say that they're like emotional vampires because they don't have the self love deep down that they need in order to feel good about themselves. It might seem like they love themselves because they're quite selfish and egotistical, but really they don't need, or rather, they need their ego stroked to feel good about themselves. And you're always wrong. As we said before, a narcissist would rarely admit that they are wrong, so they're really good at making others wrong. They've got a fragile psyche because they have never dealt with their childhood wounds. They have this inflated ego that makes it really tough for them to hear you when you go to them with an issue. Most of the time, they'll take whatever it is that you're saying and somehow turn it around to make you the one who's wrong. And that's called gaslighting. They are masters of manipulation. You probably won't pick up on this for a while, but a narcissist is a master manipulator. They need to control, and at the very root of that need of control is the petrifying fear of being abandoned. They'll manipulate conversations and situations to make you feel like you're wrong. Because if you feel like you're wrong, you're less likely to leave them. They're vain. We've already mentioned how egotistical narcissists are. They're vain. They're full of themselves, and they think that they're God's gift to the earth. They believe that others put them on pedestals, and they put themselves there also. Sometimes it can come across as simply being confident, but the real test comes out when they're not getting the praise or attention that they think that they deserve. Then they can become angry and begin a whole host of behaviors that are hurtful. They emotionally or verbally abuse. It's not unlikely for a narcissist to emotionally or verbally abuse their partners. That could be belittling you when you're out with friends, sending you ugly texts when they don't get their way, giving you the silent treatment because you didn't do or say what they thought you should be, playing mind games with you, and so on. And just so you know, none of this is ever okay. You never feel heard. Chances are that you want to emotionally connect with your partner, but a narcissist is unable to emotionally connect with you. You may go to them for emotional support or just to connect at a deeper level, and you'll be met with aloofness and perhaps coldness. Their waters will never run deep, and chances are that they will never really listen to you. They'll tell you that you talk too much, or they'll tell you to go to your friends to discuss your issues. They have very little tolerance for trying to be a support for you as you navigate life. They're intolerant. The narcissist will not want to put up with any drama from you. If they want to create some drama, fine. But let's say you have an awful day at work or someone treats you poorly. You go to them for support and they just don't want to hear it. They might tell you that you're acting like a baby and just grow up and get over it. They lack empathy and will be challenged when it comes to giving you any emotional support. So, this is not an exclusive list of narcissistic characteristics, but think that you're getting the idea. Do you, do you see some of these traits in the person that you're dating? Are you in a relationship with someone like this? If so, know that you're not alone. It will serve you well to continue learning about narcissistic behavior, but also codependent behavior. You can begin to journey towards working on your own self and becoming stronger in and of yourself. Here's a great article that can help you if you feel like you want to leave this type of person. And let's see how we can work this, because what I think is that we don't realize so many times just how important understanding where narcissists come from. And before I get into it, let me explain to you. I grew up in a family that I had a father that was very physically abusive and a mother that was very verbally and emotionally abusive. And the thing is, both of them were narcissists. And the fact of the matter was that they came from homes where there was a lot of abuse, and they just carried on that same behavior along with their children. And what happened was, I've got a sister that's only deaf, but because she needed a lot of love and emotional support and never got it from them and never understood that they were incapable of giving it, today she's a lost little soul. And many a times I'd say to my mother, what's going to happen to Gail when you go? Oh, she'll be able to take care of herself. And the funny thing is, she's not. The problem is that she is so starved for love and never got it that she catered to their every whim. And their way of dealing with her was to send her to the therapist and tell the therapist what was wrong with her so they could get medication for her. And then they just medicated her up and left her that way. And it is just so sad to see today because she doesn't know what to do with herself. And because she doesn't know what to do with herself, she will sit there and she sleeps all day if no one comes to take her anywheres or encourage her to get out and do something. So it's very important to understand just how important that you have to really understand where your family is coming from. And for me, what happened was because I studied psychology and because I was not going to put up with how they were treating me. And I remember being 12 years old and climbing out of the window and running away. And if I'd had someplace to go, they would never have found me because I knew that the family was very dysfunctional. And many a times when I looked at a picture and I looked at myself in relationship to that family, I saw them over there and I saw myself over here. And at, there were many a times when me and my mother did not talk for years simply because I knew that if I went back in the house with her, all she would do is tell me how I was a failure and I was a failure because that's the only way she knew how to talk to someone. And you can't really be with someone when they do that to you. You really have to distance yourself simply because when you're with that person, guess what's happening? You are putting yourself in a position where you are left to deal with what's going on. And in dealing with what's going on, well, then you are not allowing yourself to be your authentic self. Now, here's a great article that you should read if you want to understand what a narcissist is, and that is 5 important tips to breaking up with a narcissist and understanding where they're coming from and how You need to kind of understand how to relate to them. Then and only then can you understand that the best way to deal with a narcissist is to get away from them. Because guess what? If you don't get away from them, they are going to bring you down to their level and you lose a sense of who you are in the process.